vice versa.
And we are live on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Helotes City Council. It's July 13th, 2023. The time is 7 p.m. At this point, we'll have the invocation given by Councilmember Sones, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow with me in prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you for our freedom and I thank you for our city. I thank you for the opportunity to serve. Lord, no, I know sometimes with all of the activities, development, changes going on, it is challenging not only for us as leaders, but for our citizens as well. So Lord, I ask that you would give us discernment, wisdom, the ability to have good discussion, asking the right questions to make the best decisions for our community. We give this meeting to you and we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. At this point, we'll go to citizens to be heard. Do we have anybody signed up
No, Mr. Mayor.
or online? No? Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Looking for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items number 3 and 4.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve consent agenda items 3 through 4 as written.
Motion by Sanders, second by
Second.
Peter. Second by Sones. All right. Without any discussion needed, all in favor of approving consent agenda items number 3 and 4 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move on to the mayor's report. Giving a little bit of an update on our bulk and brush collection with Republic Services. I want to let everybody know that we have heard loud and strong some of the issues and problems that have been happening with the transition into Republic. Not the least of which is bulk and brush snafus, if you will. We are doing our best to inform everybody. You need to figure out what week your community is one first week, second, third, or fourth week of the month. And odd months are the bulk pickup, even months are the brush. You're supposed to call by Friday of the week before to have your items picked respectively on the following Thursday. The issues that we've been running into have been supposed to be picked up on a Thursday. They don't come till the week or sometimes the week after that. But mostly running late all the time. People calling and not getting picked up, people not calling and also not getting picked up, or also people leaving out enormously large piles. We do get 12 cubic yards, which is basically 12 feet by 5 feet by 6 feet, just as a reminder. But we met with Republic, we brought our concerns to them and some contractual things that they're looking at. But we are pressing them for significant stepping up of their level of service, particularly on the customer service. I know a lot of people have been reaching out, trying to get a hold of them. There's multiple numbers. The websites that's supposed to go one place, go to another place, not really as informative as it needs to be. And so we are working on these issues. And if they don't get resolved, we'll utilize other methods to assure that we get proper service for our citizens. As a wrap up to Independence Day celebration, July 4th was an immense success. Large shout out of appreciation to Public Works Department for all the work that they did. Our new events coordinator, Vanessa, is just got with us, and right off the bat, she had market days on July 4th thrown right on her lap. She did a great job. Of course, our staff with April and Selena, and of course, Marion getting there. Really appreciate everybody's work. PD did a fantastic job. Traffic control. We had a crazy amount of people there. I would say last year with assessments on grounds and parking lots was around 9,000. I believe we probably broke 10,000 because we had people in the Dairy Queen parking lots and CVS parking lots, parked on the sides all the way up back to the back road to City Church, they call it now, or excuse me, Gateway. Just a great time, safe, incident free. We just appreciate our residents for coming out there and celebrating with us and having a great time with families. This time we're going to move to item number 6. Looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 6 is written.
Mr. Mayor, I move we discuss and take action on agenda item number 6 is written.
Motion by Sanders, second by,
I'll second.
okay.
So this is all about approving, letting the mayor move things forward to actually put the 1/4% sales tax on the election ballot for street maintenance, right?
It's a renewal.
So essentially, we currently have a 1/4% sales tax that the voters of Helotes put into place to be dedicated to our street and road maintenance. However, there was it's only for a set time period, and that time period is up. And so what we need to do, it has to be a election by the public to continue it. So this is not an increase in tax. This is keeping everything the same. We have to vote to keep it the same. And so that's what this is. You can't.
Thanks.
That's a good question. Can it be made permanent?
No.
This type is
No,
no,
it's a
no,
state-
it's a state
Does
code.
not allow that.
That's what I thought.
I appreciate the mayor for level setting that, because where I wanted to go with, so this, for most people, they don't realize that our public works and the city of Helotes is responsible, not just for the roads within the municipality, not really counting necessarily the state roads per se, but there's a good chunk of Shanefield, parts of Golem Road and parts of Braun Road that we're responsible for. And there is a looming bill, as I understand it, within the next couple of years, where we'll be responsible for resurfacing parts of Braun Road and Shanefield. So it's not, I just want everyone to understand that this money, and this is not a new tax like the mayor said, this has to be voted on every couple of years. It is a necessity for all the roadways that we have, not just in the municipality, but also in the ETJ. So anyways, I think this is a no-brainer, and obviously I'll support it.
Councilman.
Oh, no, I agree. This is a no-brainer too. And shout out to Corey and Justin to make this stuff happen. How long is the period?
4 years.
4 year.
Yeah, there was something that they tried to last year increase it to 8, and it did not pass the legislation. So
Oh.
it stayed at 4.
And that's a Texas rule. That's not.
That is correct.
Okay, so 4 years is good. Okay, that's what my question was going to be. How long is the period for? 4 years.
Councilman Massey.
Yeah, it was instituted, the first to vote on this was in 2015 and the citizens voted for it. And they voted for it again, or we voted, then after that, we voted for it in 2019, 2023. So this is 2023. And before that, I just wanted people to know, we did not have very much money in our street maintenance, and it was touch and go. I mean, talk about having to wait to do, even potholes, we didn't have the money. And so I thank the citizens for allowing us to get this 1/4% for the street maintenance. That's one of the biggest things that a city does for its citizens, street maintenance. And you don't realize it until you don't have the funds to do it. So I'm definitely for doing this.
Sir.
No issues, fully support.
Jen.
Oh, I fully support it as well, and it makes sense to get these funds from sales tax because we're taxing the people who are traveling on our roads and shopping in Helotes who are not necessarily Helotes residents. So it's just a logical source of revenue.
And certainly some of the projects, just so people are aware of, we've got drainage projects that are coming up, particularly in the Circle A area, Paragon Road area, surfacing of roads throughout all their neighborhoods. And again, our Public Works Department, Corey, Justin, they're really heading this up and do a fantastic job for making sure that they're identifying and doing preventative maintenance before it becomes an issue where everything gets have to be replaced. So appreciate work. With no other comments or discussion, all in favor of approving item number 6 is written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we're going to open up and have a discussion, excuse me, I guess we need a motion and a second for discussing an action on the Bear Appraisal District proposed 2024 annual budget. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we discuss and take action on item number 7 as written.
Motion by Merchant, second by. You get on the books?
Second.
Oh, sounds good. Sir.
Mr. Mayor, this is the second time we've seen this, right?
No.
Yes,
Yes,
well,
It's annual.
last
It's
year, it's
annual.
annual.
annual, but I mean,
So last year.
okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, good. So, I didn't see anything in here that jumped out at me other than it's kind of interesting. We have to approve Bear County budgeting. So,
Well, it's this is a little
FYI,
bit more
if we're-
procedural. There's really not much, even if we voted against it, I'm not sure that would
yeah.
do much. This is the whole appraisal district proposed budget for them assessing taxes on our properties and throughout Bear County, but all the municipalities do have a say. Typically, I don't know if there's ever been any dissent, but Councilmember.
Do you mind if I say something?
No,
No, one year we did vote against it. It was during the time when they were raising property taxes really high. And we had, because we voted against it, well, I think we were the only one who did, the only city. We had the, I'm gonna say, the mispleasure of having to have the bad chairman come over here and give us a lecture and talk about what, about it. It wasn't worth it. So I'm gonna say, I'm sorry. No, he couldn't believe that a municipality didn't vote for their budget. And so he came and kind of chastise us. It's very bizarre. Anyway.
So there's probably something to keep separate in this issue. One is the amount that Bear County in their operations and budget, and agree or disagree with that expenditures, and then the whole appraisal district and how they're appraising. And of course, separate issue on there is valuations and increases that they give to property valuations. But when all said and done, they do have operating costs, and really that's what we're looking at here.
Right.
And is there questions on the actual operating expenditures of, staff and operations per se, which is separate from determination of values and
yes,
strategic place. So,
I couldn't find anything in here that jumped out at me.
Councilman.
I don't have anything. This is just open transparency in government budgets. And that's why we're probably seeing it. And we see several budgets during the year that are exactly in the same vein. So I don't have anything.
No, I don't have any issues.
The only thing I noticed, and just for anybody that's watching or anybody in the audience, the real big change from last year to this year in their budget, their operating budget looks like they're adding some more staff just due to the workload. So they're adding another 8 people and that's increasing $1.2 million or something like that. So it seems like that's the biggest change from the previous year's budget, is hiring more people to do the job. So okay. That's all I got to say.
No more discussion. All in favor of approving item number 7 is written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion and second to discuss and take action on item number 8 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on item 8 as written.
Motion by Massey, second by
I'll second that.
Sanders. We're going to go ahead and invite our EDC Executive Director, Glenn Goolsby, up. This is going to be talking about funding for the 2023 Retailer and Commercial Tenant Improvement Incentive Grant Program to Twin Brothers Burgers.
Yes, sir. So as many of you have been aware, the Bobby J's closure, and it's Carlos and Gabe Garcia with El Chaparral Mexican Restaurant purchased the property. They haven't made any improvements to the property. They just made some gutting the interior. A lot of that they were waiting on until they opened the third, actually El Chaparral restaurant in Boerne, Texas. And they want to get that fully operational, and then they'll come back and start renovations on this one. So they're actually anticipating construction the fourth quarter of this year with opening hopefully in the first quarter of 24. They applied for our tenant improvement grant. They actually so far have scored the highest out of all the applicants. So they've exceeded every one of our categories. It is a targeted business, being a restaurant. The amount of revenue that they'll generate exceeds $10,000. The amount of employees exceeds 11. It is owner occupied. So I believe they scored, what was it?
12
I think it's
points.
12 points, right? So they do qualify for the maximum grant amount. Their overall investment is going to be over $200,000 in the property. So our contribution would be $20,000. They would have to provide all receipts for improvements. That's verified either through check statements or actual canceled checks.
And it is on a reimbursement basis.
It is a reimbursement. Yes, sir.
Okay. Start with Councilmember Massey. Questions, issues?
I have no issues and no questions. I think that they deserve this, all what they've done for our community, just with El Chaparral and the sales tax that's brought in over the years. And the other thing too is having kids be able to work here in town, the high school kids, and so
Absolutely.
employees and that kind of thing. So no, I think this is why we have this grant, to help this kind of business, especially.
I agree.
Councilmember Sanders?
I just want to thank the EDC for having this program in place, so that we can actually help out the growth of the businesses that actually want to produce more revenue and who want to be successful in our wonderful community. So yeah, this is good.
I think it's a very good choice. They've done a very good job with El Chaparral, and I'm sure they'll do a great job with Twinberg Brothers.
No, I agree, and I'm looking forward to the El Shap burger.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic example of why we have an EDC. So good, solid work.
Just hoping they have the mayor's masterpiece burger. I just
Or
I can give you the ingredients to it if you like, but all right. Outside of that, if no other discussion, all in favor of approving item number 8 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Like that? Yeah, it is. So this time we're going to go to number 9, looking for a motion and second to take discussion and action on item number 9 is written, involving the EDC's option to go into another YOLO Texas television feature agreement. So looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move we discuss and take action on agenda item number 9 as written.
Motion by Sanders, second by
Second.
Jones. Take it away, Craig.
So I just got some questions. So I know what we did last year, I think turned out very awesome. I guess my question back to you, Glenn, was, were we ever able to kind of quantify the impact from that marketing advertising of the city? And that's just a general question. I'm just curious.
I'm going to say not in specific dollar amounts. In the short term, after the airing, every business that participated, most of them saw a substantial increase in revenue. Some of them ended up selling out, like B Daddy Barbecue, for example. They sold out every day for 2 weeks after the airing, and they had done no other advertising.
So do we kind of have a concept on what part of Helotes we actually want to highlight that we haven't already highlighted before? We've done Corny Bowl multiple times. We've done almost all of Old Town at least once, if not twice. B Daddy's been a couple times. Are we going to stay just focused on a municipality, or is there any stuff in the ETJ that we might want to roll in? Or maybe I'm going down a rabbit hole or something that's off topic.
I would say it could be a rabbit hole. So this was last year was the first time we did YOLO, and we featured 8 either businesses or activities. Helotes Marketplace was one of those 8. This time we do have a pool of possibilities. One happens to be in the ETJ. So what we did last time is we gave our top priorities to the producer and let them try to tell us what's going to have the biggest impact, because they do this for a lot of municipalities, and they'll help narrow it down. I think the one big lesson we learned from last time is we are not going to feature 8. The clips were very quick. It was brief. So I think the recommendation is to go to 5 to 6.
So, and I know we kind of focus on what's in a municipality because tax revenue, right? And I get that. But there could be one off in an ETJ that actually brings people here for part of the day, and then they come into the taxing part of the municipality. And that's just my 2 cents. Because there's one in my mind that I'm thinking that is really awesome that my family's used, and it's pretty exhilarating, and I'll leave it at that.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, okay. And I guess last question, have we looked at any of the, I know we used YOLO last year, and I think it worked out really well. We had a really good relationship. Matter of fact, didn't they come back for the parade or something?
Yes, sir.
Have we looked at other ones? So it's just, and this is just a general question. I love the YOLO idea, but I'm just throwing out, there's another program out there called the Bucket List that's aired on the weekends as well, which is focused on kind of the same things. Have we thought about that at all?
I have thought about it. There's 3 other kind of competing shows. There's Texas Country Reporter, there's Bucket List, and there's, I can't remember the Chet Miller guy, right? Day Tripper. They all have a different channel, different audience. I think this one probably ties in a little bit better on our demographic. And I know price point, we had reached out to Texas Country Reporter once years ago, and they were significantly higher for what you got. So we're able to get a whole episode with them, I think, at a reasonable price.
Okay. And I think for anybody listening in, this gets funded using the hot tax, or is it a combination?
It's a
Would we
50/50 combination. Yeah, EDC is proposing that they'll pay for half, and then the hot tax will pay for the other half. There's limitations on what can be used with those funds and the hot tax, and this is one that qualifies.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I got.
I just anecdotally am hearing very positive feedback. I am meeting people at Helotes Market Days who have, this is just anecdotally, I've lived in Leon Valley my whole life, heard about Helotes Market Days, never came, saw it on YOLO. Now I come every month. Same with the small businesses who are featured. One told me they were just crazy busy. And I had heard about the barbecue selling out as well. So very positive feedback. The only thought I have is I think the history of Helotes is really neat. And I loved seeing Councilmember Massey's and the Historical Society signs. So whatever, if there's room that we could talk just a little bit about the history, just even that there was cattle drives came through here, even if it's real basic, I know there's not room to go in depth. My husband and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I think that would be an interesting thing to add. That's all I have.
I did see the first or the only YOLO episode. We liked it, but I think you've already pointed out part of the problem is, wasn't a whole lot of coverage on each one of the areas mentioned during the episode. So I think that's a great idea and I fully support it.
So what is are we gonna look forward to this every year? Or should we do it every other year or?
So that is something that's still up for discussion. My personal opinion is we should do something like this every year, and maybe it is mixing it up with another channel, different audience. Because we don't do a lot of other broad marketing, and this is kind of the biggest bang for your buck, so to
That was
speak.
kind of the other question too. So what's the marketing budget, if you can refresh my memory? I don't recall EDC
So
marketing. budget.
overall, it's 80,000.
So this is only 9,000. What are we doing with the other stuff? I mean, that we couldn't buy a different program.
There's a lot of, different items that come out of that one.
Yeah, there's a big, I know you guys do a lot, but.
Yeah, the Google 360 program is probably the next biggest line item that comes out of marketing.
Yeah, there's a lot of good, all the businesses there. So what do we think about like an every other year kind of, as opposed to every year? Because I mean, businesses change, come through here all the time, and there's new businesses all the time.
That might be an argument to do it every year.
It could be, but
Well, if we could only feature 5
right.
either businesses or activities in every episode, think of how many businesses we currently have in Helotes and how many years it would take just to hit those. Then you think of multiplying that with new businesses. We could do this for 10 years every year, and we're still not going to hit every body if that was the intent.
So when we paid for the 18,000 for this previous one, or however much it was, I can't remember. They guaranteed, what did they guarantee you? How many times did it play?
They only guaranteed one time.
One play, one view, that's it?
Yes, one feature. We ended up getting 2. They did a second airing in March of 23. This time they're guaranteeing 2 with possibility of getting a third.
So we only got 2 viewings, 2
Correct.
separate days, that's it? What
Correct.
time, do
It's
you remember
the-
what time it was?
It's a 30-minute episode that obviously features, the whole feature is Helotes.
What time was it shown?
I think it was like
10.
it was Saturday, like on the
Saturday
Saturday
at
at 10, and then they re-air it again.
No,
like
Sunday.
at midnight.
I think too,
Was
right?
it Sunday?
And what day, what month was it that they did it?
We did it in
October.
October. Yeah, was the original air date with March being
And
the
why did
second.
we do it in October?
That was just the soonest time we could get in the first year.
Well, I guess usually these kinds of things are timed with events. Okay, well, you did do marketplaces. That's a good time to go to marketplace, in the fall.
Cool.
But then I remember seeing it when it came out, but we were notified. See, that's the thing. We were notified that it was going to show. So I kind of made a point to watch it. So like Carnival being mentioned, it would seem like it would be a good thing to have it come out in April.
So
something like that.
Carnival actually has paid or bartered, I should say, with YOLO for the last 3 or 4 years. So they take care of their own episode that is featured.
So they have their own thing.
Yes.
Okay. What I would like to see is the cost of these other platforms you mentioned at some point.
Absolutely.
I know the Texas Country Reporter. I'd like to know what I'd like to see the offerings that they would give, how often they would show it, how much it would cost. It's not like the EDC doesn't have money. You guys have money. And I think the Texas Country Reporter might be that would be one that I think people
the
would
history.
actually watch
Yeah.
quicker, But anyway, it's hard to make a decision. You've only given us the YOLO thing, okay? And I'd like to know other platforms, and I'd like to know what they offer, and I'd like to know how much they cost. So.
We're not going to have anything like Josh Abbott at this time either, are we?
It's not on the calendar yet. Who knows what comes in?
Couple things I will comment on. Number one, this falls squarely in the purview of EDC and advertising. One of the main thrusts of the EDC is branding and advertising and promoting Helotes. So doing it every year or doing multiple venues every year, to me, is probably something that the EDC should look into, amping up and doing one every 6 months or even one a quarter. That wouldn't bother me at all, given the fact of identifying and marketing and branding a city. When people talk to me, my whole concept is, hey, where are you going to go? Let's go to Helotes. What's going on? I don't know. Something's always going on in Helotes, and that's just so true. Something's always going on in Helotes. So getting that in the front, I think is much better than billboard per se. I will say that in the advertising aspect of it, as you all know, I'm a firefighter, and when people see me on TV, they love to bust my chops, and they do. A lot of firefighters came up to me throughout the ensuing weeks and months. Oh man, I saw you on YOLO. which did a number of things. Number one, let me know that it's reaching a wide audience, a wide array of people. Secondly, after they got done busting my chops, they said, "Oh, I didn't know you had this." So it did two things: made them aware and really broadened what their knowledge of Helotes was. So I personally feel by the metrics, it's difficult to put an exact. And as we discussed before, we look at things in return on investment, but some things you can't put an exact dollar amount to. But feedback, how widespread the feedback is, the number of people we saw coming into the city in the ensuing weeks, and that was we got that feedback from the merchants and businesses. I got to say that I think it's well worth the money, and I think I would hope that we would support it. I will ask this: we paid a little extra last time for all the B-roll clips, and so we have those. And the whole point of that was to start taking some of those clips and run them on a somewhat rotating basis, just on social media posts. 30-second clips here and there. Did we do much with that?
We did not.
I think we should. We can get Vanessa involved in some aspect of that. We've got that, we paid for it, and it doesn't take much to just start dropping those clips and just inundate constant something going out every week of some little clip on that. I think it would be something we should engage. But as far as voting on this, we've had some good commentary on that, but all in go for a vote unless there's another comment that wants to be made. All in favor of approving item number 9 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. EDC is up again for item number 10, looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action for item number 10 as written. Motion by
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to discuss and take action on item number 10 as written.
motion by Merchant, second by Cato. All right, sir, comments?
I really, 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 really like this. I went to the last EDC meeting. I looked into this. I really like the idea that we have almost instantaneous data for us, or for you as an EDC and us as a city council to really focus on where we can go and what we can do with this information. This is incredible data. The question that I had is probably irrelevant, but it says EDC's granted temporary access for the software for 6 months to evaluate it. Did that start in June?
No, that started January.
January.
Oh, so we've had this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been utilizing it for 6 months, and that's why we feel it is definitely providing value for what the service fee is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to even cut you off. Go ahead. Can you tell us what all this does and give us kind of a quick?
So I included probably the only page that is public record. Most of the data we get is confidential because it's granular data down to every single business and what they report in sales for the location here in Helotes. So that is definitely strictly held in confidentiality with the comptroller. But like you mentioned, it gives us quick data. Despite sales tax being 2 months in the rear, there's nothing we can do about that. So meaning April's reported sales tax from a business we don't receive until July. But historically, the information we would get from the comptroller was either every 6 months or every year. So it was even further behind. This allows us to see it quicker, allows us to see trends. It breaks it down. Something I actually don't even get access to from the comptroller is the segments. So if you want to look at wholesale trade, retail trade, lodging, and manufacturing, et cetera, to see if there's a specific industry that's being more impacted than the others. I couldn't have done that without HDL. It also does a historical trend. So if we sign this contract, or if it gets approved tonight, we'll be able to give them access to all of our data back to 2013, and they'll suck it up into their database, and we'll have a really nice historical outlook that we can use for forecasting for budget times. That's coming up.
Okay, so my other question was, and I had this question while I was at the EDC meeting that nobody thought of. I was really surprised. So we're giving this company a lot of data, and you hear about data breaches all the time. What is there any guarantee, or do we have like some kind of insurance plan to protect this kind of data? Because it's kind of important.
Good
Does
question.
the company provide that?
At this
Or-
time, I'd have to research that and get back to you.
My understanding is rudimentary at best, but the type of data being released from comptroller's office carries with the responsibility they'd be held liable to the state for security of the data. So, but do we carry insurance? We don't have. I mean, but as a insurance third for data. party company.
It's a third party, but there is a secondary
They
agreement
reached.
that we authorize them to gain access that the comptroller also has to approve. They're only approved in 2 states right now, I believe, and it's Texas and California to do this kind of service.
So if somebody breaches their data, which includes us, are we protected?
Here's it says transmission of confidential information, number 2, A2, under client obligations. It says, client acknowledges on receipt of any confidential information from HDL client assumes responsibility for assuring compliance with section 9A. So we're the client, right?
Yeah, that's it, the data, so that some information they give to us is confidential. And so they're saying that we are complying with that regulation. I
We're
don't know
receiving
anywhere in the contract
but I mean,
about
they're gonna
about
hold
correct.
data. It's just a question I have.
And I would think that they would have something, the comptroller would not approve them. Because we signed something that releases that. And I would think that since they're approved here in Texas, that they have gone through, they've been vetted, you know what I mean, to ensure that they
But I
have
mean,
the system.
If our EDC can't release information because it's confidential,
There-
if somebody gets into this HDL company and takes their data and does stuff with it,
That would be on
It's
them.
that's on them. That's not us.
That's not on us.
right? So, okay, I mean, I understand. that.
Yeah.
There is a section, shows page 101, under 9A. And it says even their officers are held liable with 6 months in jail and $1,000 fine in accordance with Texas Government Code.
That's if they disclose the
552.
information.
Yeah.
Client page, okay. So no,
These,
not really.
this contract is
Right.
pretty
So
interesting.
they have insurance. They have requirement of insurance that they have
They do.
coverage. So I would think that that covers them. It's on a liability policy. Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Remember, this
NE.
is sales tax and
$1
sales
million.
information, not personal.
Right, yeah, I get it, but I mean, if we can't release it because it's confidential kind of thing. That's it. That's all I have. But I think this is a fantastic idea. I mean, this is a tool, very useful tool for us as a city.
When I saw this the other day, I was pleasantly surprised. I think this is a great idea, especially the audit. I mean, we want to make sure we're getting biggest bang for the buck, right? So I don't really have any concerns about it. How was this particular company selected?
So we've been searching for a company that could, I guess, pull this kind of data and have it easily evaluated in charts, graphs, and all that kind of stuff. And I was having a difficult time trying to find someone. I reached out to our city auditor, and they recommended HDL.
So was anyone else considered?
I'm not aware of another company that does what they do.
So, and for the fact that our auditors who audit our books and stuff recommended it, that was one of the reasons that we looked, at them, because Glenn asked those specific questions of, do you know of a company that does this, and that? And so this was the only company that they listed for us
And they provided me a list with the cities that are
that are utilizing them.
utilizing it. Yes.
I'm just asking a more general question. Could you explain how sales tax is misallocated? Like what is, I mean, I know that before we had our increase, I would see receipts where they were charging San Antonio rates in Helotes. Is that what we're talking?
No, we're talking about if it's misallocated, because let's say they're in Helotes, but when they have to do a form, and then they say where that business or where that sales has been. So if they list San Antonio and San Antonio gets the money instead of Helotes, or vice versa. We've had it where we've had to pay back because Helotes got the money and they actually did the sales, or they had their business in San Antonio. They did all their business.
So it's literally where it's going. It's not, oh, this item is sold at Walmart and it's supposed to be taxed and it's not taxed. It's
No,
not that
no.
level.
It's not that.
No, we've even had it to where some businesses, so on your comptroller's website, you've got an input for every location. So if you're a business with multiple locations across the state, can be challenging if you're not paying attention. And so they'll switch numbers around. And then when they get audited, they uncover that and they'll have to make an adjustment.
And then what are some of the marketing in terms of getting detailed reports like this? How does your EDC use this on a practical level, this data?
So some of it we've got to be very careful. It helps us identify trends. Like right now, we've been utilizing it for impacts with road construction to try to see how big that impact actually is. Because if a business owner comes to us, they're not showing us their books, but they're telling us, they lost 30% revenue. We can go and actually verify that information. We can also use it a little bit in attracting. So if we have a segment that's outperforming in this area, so it's just, I won't say chicken, right? No. But if a sector is outperforming from its counterparts around the state or around the Bexar County, the metro area, we use it as justification to get in a location. So we have a few restaurants here, definitely that outperform most of their peers.
So it touts new businesses. Okay.
Yes.
Greg? Okay, two things, Glenn, and maybe we already covered it, but I'm gonna ask the question in a different way, maybe. So earlier this year, we saw pretty significant decline in sales tax revenue. Would this tool allow us to do that analysis quicker versus having to go through the regular process through the comptroller in order to kind of identify quickly what the heck's going on? Would that be a fair assessment of how this tool could be used?
100%. So there's one example. I know the mayor had asked me to pull the first quarter of this year as compared to 2022. Typically, that would have taken me probably 3 or 4 days to go through the data. So it's hard to, until you see what the comptroller gives you, it is 80,000 individual entries in an Excel spreadsheet. There's no sorting, there's nothing. So it's a lot of manipulation. This software, I ran that report in an hour.
That's good to know. And I guess my last thing, I don't think anyone's covered this, and it's just, what's this 30% recovery fee? What specifically is that?
So if HDL will do an audit of businesses that are identified here in Helotes and make sure we're receiving their sales tax. And if they uncover someone that hasn't been remitting sales tax to Helotes, then they're asking for a 30% recovery fee.
Okay.
And it is non-negotiable. I did check.
And that's probably why you brought this to council, because it says it costs $6,000. But assuming they find a bunch of sales tax that hasn't been claimed or submitted correctly, they
Correct.
could in theory
Correct.
go over 10,000. Okay.
I
got it.
Your wallet blows out of the car and you lose a $100 bill. You find your wallet, $100 bill. Somebody comes up, they find the $100 bill. They're taking 30 and giving you 70, and you're walking away with 70 instead of a $100 loss. And that's basically finder's fee, and that seems reasonable. It's money we wouldn't have had in the first place. So we're just, they're only charging on what extra they find.
Similar concept to what we approved last meeting, or
It's what we do
before that,
with
where
our
it
property
was property
taxes.
taxes. Got it.
Exact same thing.
Just want to make sure. Okay, So I got, Glenn.
I will add to this, I don't think it's gonna change anything here, but I will say that I have been using it with Glenn on business specifics. I talk with business owners on a regular basis. They have complaints about traffic and construction. Some of them have ferreted out to be accurate. Others, just a shifting of times when customers were coming in. So it seemed like it was worse, but it actually was not worse. And it helps really curtail what some of our businesses' frustrations are. It gives us more accurate information. They may be really upset and angry because what they feel, but then you take a look at the facts, you're like, never mind. The answers are questions, right? They retreat, or it helps focus on what the problem really is. And what I will say is this, for feedback to EDC, and Glenn and you and I have talked about this. We had the Placer AI software, which was about twice as expensive. Although I think we got a discount this year. And that really tracked traffic in a unique way, which is interesting information. But as much as we tried to use it, and much as it was, it's designed to help attract more businesses, this information is, first of all, less expensive of a software. Number one. Number two, a lot more specific information. Although it is, Placer AI is a little more current within 2 weeks as opposed to 2 months, but it's traffic and not necessarily whether they made a purchase or not. This is actual purchase, which is more pertinent information than foot traffic, although they are correlated. My opinion, from what I've seen and the reports that we pulled and what its use, this is much more valuable and useful than the Placer AI. It'd be my recommendation that EDC utilize this and instead of Placer AI, but I would highly recommend that we support this. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval? What question?
Did you have any comments?
I have no comments.
Oh, sorry, because I thought I'm sorry. I thought you were.
And then, so this is a 1-year contract. This data the potential is amazing. Is there possibility for a multi-year contract?
Yes.
That might come in at a lower price
No.
discount.
It's 1 for 1, 3 for 5.
I definitely tried our hardest to negotiate, and because all this is discussed in an open fashion, if we get a cheap price, every other city will fight for that cheap price. So they keep their contract pricing set
Doesn't
based
matter.
on municipality size, and so we fit within this pay scale,
Okay.
or fee structure, sorry.
That I just gonna ask because I'm 52.
No,
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor of approving item number 10 is written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 11 is written.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on 11 as written.
Motion by Massey, second by
Second.
Cato. Yes, ma'am.
This is just so wonderful. Hey, I'm on the arts committee. I am on the arts committee, by the way. And I want y'all to know that we had other submissions and they were like ho hum. And we kind of just said, you know what, guys, we kind of did, we felt like what happened with the last grant thing with this in Old Town, we were a little displeased about that. And so we were kind of like gun shy of bringing anything back to, saying to the EDC that we like something or not, unless we really, really liked it. And so the first set, we kind of just said, let's put those aside until we get something from this lady, because we kind of liked her style. And when she sent her, it was right on target and exactly what we were hoping for. And she's a quality sculptor. And you can tell that she put a lot of thought into this, even calling it this cowboy roping the bull, calling it the Western dance was just so beautiful. I mean, that you can tell this woman's an artist, but I just think it's going to look just wonderful on our square. So obviously I'm for this very much so. But anyway, I think it's going to be a showstopper. I think people are going to stop there and take their picture in front of it.
And not
It's-
get run over.
What was that?
And not get run over.
And they won't get run over. And the way she did it in such a way, I had always been worried about the horns sticking out and maybe somebody crashing into them and being gored. And she's so smart. She figured out a way to fix that. So they go up and something goes, it's really fabulous. She did a great job. So even her this drawing, it looks nice. And yet it's going to be in metal, burnished metal. Anyway, the minute we all saw it on the arts committee, it was just absolutely, there was no dissension whatsoever. And the pricing, she usually charges 75,000 and she's going to give it to us for 35,000. And because she wants to be in Helotes and she loves Helotes and wants to, have her art there. The other part is she did ask for some concession as far as putting the EDC paying for the concrete and that kind of stuff, a lighting, which is going to be so cool. But there is enough money apparently in the budget to do that. So anyway, I just think this is exactly what that circle means.
Well, this was an interesting one for me when I first looked through it and first I saw the cost and I went, hell no. Then I came to the 5th page and looked at the drawing and I wasn't really impressed by the drawing. It just didn't catch my eye. So I looked at it, then of course, then I saw the island on page 7. It's like, something needs to be done there. And it's like, okay, is this going to work? Well, then I started looking at her examples. And then of course, what hit home is the sculptures in Iron Horse Canyon. And they're done very good quality. We always get comments about them. So the further I looked through it, I said, no, I think this actually will be a good project. So I think it's a good idea and I fully support it. Actually, I think it's a great idea.
So I echo what both council members said. I live in Iron Horse Canyon. I drive by these every day. And they've been there for a long time and they look just as good as the day I moved in 13 years ago. So I think it'll last a long time. Hoping nobody drives through it with a monster truck or something. But anyways, I think it's perfect and it really is. It's going to be a centerpiece as you come into Old Town and you got floors and you've got all that history. It's perfect. And what I really like the fact is that she is an established artist and she's got artwork all over Texas from what I understand. So there won't be any deviations or any other. I'd be surprised if there were any. She delivers it the way we anticipate. I guess is what I'm getting at. There's very low risk that she's not going to deliver what we want. So yeah, I'm happy.
Okay.
I think it's wonderful too. I looked at it, I said, oh, this Iron Horse Canyon. Oh, it's the same artist. So I just appreciate Ms. Benedict doing this at a discount for the city of Helotes. So thank you, Ms. Benedict, if you ever watch this. That's all I have. Thank you.
Emphatically, yes, Miss Benedict, thank you.
Okay, just real quick. I just want to, Justin, we had Public Works look at the roundabout because there are requirements on the roundabout of what can be put on there and what can't safely. And I just want to let you know, Justin did a great job in giving me the information. And it does meet the requirements that we can have something on there. We just have to follow where it has a 6 feet landscape buffer, and then she'll have 18 feet to work with. And so with that, as long as we follow those regulations, we meet all of the regulations for transportation code.
So she's aware of the restrictions, correct?
Yes, this piece isn't larger than 12 feet, if I recall in her presentation. We're going to have to hire a separate contractor to actually,
To mount.
so we want to build a wall around the traffic circle on the inside to be able to protect the piece And then we can put in the footings and landscape lighting. And we know to make sure lighting has to be in such a way that it's not going to impact,
People
drivers and all that
driving
kind of
and so
stuff.
forth, yeah.
on a blind.
It can be up almost even through the sculpture.
Or anything considered about maybe a pedestal type to bring it up a little bit more, perhaps.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
weird,
That would
it's a
help
weird
protect it,
standard.
too.
It's a weird standard. You have to have it up. You can't have it up too high. It's Justin brought it, and I think Glenn had it on his desk when I went over there to talk to him the other day, and but suffice it to say, it will be installed according to standards. So I don't think that's not an issue of concern. Let's put it that way, that we're worried about it not being installed right.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that
And odds
y'all knew
are-
that Public Works did their due diligence and gave us the information to ensure that this meets those regulations.
I just think the higher you get it up off the ground, the more prominent it'll look and more eye catching you'll get.
Agree.
The problem with that is the blocking of the view. You get a big
Yeah.
cloud, then you can't see through there.
There is a balance, and odds are those improvements will exceed our $10,000 requirement to bring to city council. So that next phase will come to you. So it'll be two components.
So if it's anything like our horses, though, you will see through it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see through it. She even has pictures here of nighttime with the light going through.
Yes.
Glenn, I want to say this is a much better
Yes.
art project. And I think this is what we've been looking for, I think.
I
So
agree.
I know this has been a process, trial, error, and then home run. So without any further ado, all in favor of approving item number 11 is written, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. You're on a roll, Glenn. 5 for 5. You want to try 6 for 6? Number 12, looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on the 6th EDC item of the night. Motion by
Mr. Mayor,
Sanders.
Number 12.
It's not.
Number 12.
Number 12.
number 12, I always get mixed up there. I move we discuss, take action on agenda item number 12.
Perfect. Second by Massey. Greg?
So I've read through it, and I actually, when I was still the liaison to the EDC, I got to sit through several meetings as they were really discussing, and there was really thoughtful discussion, debate. Here's what I like about it. For one, they're looking to do something for the small business community. More importantly, it appears this is a trend that small businesses that don't have the money to set up their own high-tech VTC suites and so on and so forth, or have a meeting in place with their clients. This provides that opportunity for small businesses. So I think it's hitting a need that I know is out there. I've actually done a little research on my own, and this is definitely a real thing. The second thing I like about it is that it pays back in time. So it's not just taking tax dollars and throwing it out there with no return. If I understand it rightly, there is a payback, and it's within a reasonable amount of time to where it's just not money going out. Right. I don't know if it ever generated a profit, but breaking even is good, is a good thing. And so I love that business case analysis that you guys did. So I think that's good. Question I have though, and this was something that came up at the EDC, so I don't know what was resolved, how you guys felt about this, but having public businesses inside an area that the EDC will still be there, right? City information, and kind of what council member was talking about earlier was, protection of city data, private data. How would we resolve that? How do we address that?
Yes, so we definitely are looking into that. Right now, we're looking at having controlled access, not only on the exterior of the building, but on the interior. So all the offices will either be individually coded, so if we're using key card access, or we're doing pins, or if it's keyed, we have multiple options. Obviously, we're gonna have security cameras everywhere. Any of my records will be locked up, so it'll be multiple layers of protection outside of the office, the file cabinet, etc. And what's a little bit unique about this particular building is I have a fiber optic line to the city. So my data will be completely separate from the rest of the lease space.
So it's an isolated network. You
It
would
is.
not be using the same infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
That's good. So I know this would include a visitor center. Now, I know this is not the ideal location. That's not where we would like it, but we don't have anything right now. So this would address that need as well. I like that. Last question, manpower. So again, I know this was something that EDC was talking about. To do this right, are you going to have to hire or have a dedicated person to actually do the IT setup? Hey, Murphy hits all the time. And so to keep businesses wanting to keep using this, it has to be reliable. And so I'm wondering to have that dedicated person that's making sure that people are maintaining their reservation time and not going over and bleeding into somebody else's time. There has to be a referee, I would think, right? And somebody that can address people's problems that they may encounter. How will you guys address that?
Yes. Multiple different ways. One of them, we're trying to have as much of that automated as possible. So it'll be easy for someone to go in and see available time slots, reserve their time. Also easy for any staff person to see who's coming in and out. There's also looking at doing an agreement with the Helotes Chamber. So they have a full-time employee that they're willing to help manage the traffic in and out, so it would not fall solely on my shoulders. We're even in discussion to see if there's a possibility of using interns, or if the need is there to hire part-time staff, either EDC or chamber. It could be a combination. On the IT side, we would definitely have an IT provider on standby. And there's a couple of vendors that live here in Helotes that do that. So we'll put it out kind of for bid and see what we have. There's even a possibility that one of the chamber members that's in IT may decide to office out of there and be one of the renters. And that would even be the most ideal situation, because they would be on site.
I think that's, to me, one of the biggest concerns is you get some small business person there that's not IT savvy. They, and they create their own problem by hitting the wrong button. And there needs to be somebody that kind of hold them by the hand, at least until they get through the first iteration of it and they get comfortable using the facility. Because then once they get that confidence, I think they're going to have repeat customers. And that, I think, is what you're looking for, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I'd just like to take a point of privilege here to state one of the concepts here that's going on too, is as we take a look at this resolution, a lot of discussion behind the scenes, discussions as far as conceptual on how we handle this. We do have a point of the $10,000 contracts where we take a look at this as a project, so that we're not having to approve the project, but separately approve electric, and separately approve plumbing, and separately approve carpeting, and all these items that individually would be over 10,000. And I don't think that was the intent of the bylaws originally. I think the intent was to take a look at projects. However, the letter of the law of bylaws states that we'd have to take a look at that. Without having a bylaw change and an adoption, we can do this by resolution. So there's several things that are going on here simultaneously. But with that, I do want to point out one construct of this whole project. Way back in my early days, interaction with the EDC, there's always been looking for a visitor center or some sort of construction. And my rule of thumb was present me a project, I'm going to push on it. If it falls down, Okay, but if it stands on its own 2 feet and pushes back, we've got something that not only I've challenged and done my due diligence, but now I can support and stand behind it. Various other ideas have had various levels of success or failures. This is one that pushed back and stands on its own 2 feet. Economically, fundamentally, scope, budget size and appropriateness, and potential return of interest. It checked all of the boxes along with the procedural to be able to streamline it in its adaptation. But just as a moment, go ahead and turn it over to you,
Yeah, I
Councilman.
have a question. Couple questions. You're gonna have you call it a cafe, but I'm looking at this floor plan and it's really a break room, correct?
Yes,
Ready.
and I go ahead and we'll flip through. So
So that's what it's gonna look like?
I do have a few pictures to try to show what some of the competitors in San Antonio and in Bexar County, what their facilities look like. There's a number of different names. Venture X is probably one of the bigger ones. They've got a office in Dominion, I think in Stone Oak, and one down in the medical district. Most of these concepts do have, the architects don't like to use kitchen or break room because it's not truly what it is. That's not the break room we have here at City Hall, or even in my space now. It is a coffee bar, a cafe. It's a place that you can go, yes, get a tea, get a cup of coffee. There will be a fridge for the people that are officing out of there, but it's also, it can be utilized as a meeting space. And so typically they are up in front in the reception area.
Rental, is this going to be permanent rentals for businesses or just temporary rentals if somebody needs to, are you going to keep at least one room open for transient businesses to come in and have meetings?
So yes, on kind of both accounts. The goal would be to have at least one of the meeting rooms, the offices, I should say, sorry, not a meeting room, one of the offices to be rented out on an hourly basis. If it's utilized even a little over 10% of the time, we make more money on the hourly than we would on a permanent tenant lease. The other ones we're looking at leasing on a monthly basis and doing contracts right now 6 months to a year, and then they have an opportunity to renegotiate and extend their lease. It is not intended to be a permanent space for a business. It is conceived to be an incubation space. So getting businesses to grow from their home office to, this will give a commercial space, commercial office, and then growing to that next step to where they could get a more permanent location.
What if somebody wants to stay longer and they're paying?
We haven't even had those conversations yet.
Okay, another question.
Mhm.
What are you anticipating the rental fees are?
Scroll down a little bit. Go a little more. There's a little breakdown on there.
Yeah.
On some of the rental fees. I know meeting rooms, we're looking at 45 for us. That's an average of every space in the area. So meeting rooms can go anywhere from $35 to $75 an hour. A virtual office, I don't understand why 225, but 65 to probably 100. There's a couple of them out there on the higher end. Virtual office is really your kind of the post office for a business. You'll have a phone number and you have a mailbox for them. And then they would then have the ability to utilize the space. Usually there's, perks, I guess, associated with it on their use of internet, their use of printer, and all that can be regulated for access codes. Then you'll have the private office rental. We're anticipating to be around $500 for our particular space, but you see the range there, $375 to $650. A shared office would be having 2 to 3, maybe 4 desks in an office that multiple people can utilize either at the same time or at different times. Right now, we're not anticipating on doing that particular feature unless we have vacant space. And then most of them do charge, a membership fee, and that's just onboarding process for paperwork.
Who's going to be in charge of the paperwork for all these people who want to rent?
Right now, we're
EDC, the EDC.
well, ultimately, yeah, the EDC is responsible because it's our building and our project. But we are actually looking at working with the chamber to manage all that stuff.
Okay.
So this is just one layout. We've already put out request for proposal from some architects. So we'll hire an architect to do an official layout, make sure everything complies with code. I know there was, in my particular layout, it's a dead end hallway, which I didn't even know such a thing existed at the time, but it's beyond 25 feet.
Well, I do have one more last question. Do you already have anybody interested in leasing this? How long is this going to take if we approve it and all that?
So a lot of that's going to depend on the architect. I have some architects that can get started on the project ASAP, and I have others that will have to get into their schedule. It could take 3 months. So that one is kind of the fudging. Once we can start construction, it should take no more than 4 months.
Okay. So do you already have people interested in leasing?
I do. I have right now about 5 local businesses. 4 of them are actually chamber members that are looking at leasing. 2 of them are on the hourly basis, and 3 of them are looking for actual office space. So if we launch this, odds are it's going to be fully leased before we ever open the doors to the public.
Once again, pushing on this project, it stands on its own, and it's one of the better things I've seen come out of EDC. A lot of good things have come out of EDC. This is a fantastic project. As far as somebody asked me about demand on this office space, you just can't find it. It's one of the things we're even contemplating in the PUD, even though it wouldn't generate sales tax. It's something that the city desperately needs, and sometimes we have to weigh out what's the best for the community, what does our community need, even if it doesn't generate sales tax per se. And in this particular case, no, it doesn't generate sales tax, but it generates offsetting income to be able to effectively even better than sales tax in this particular sense. So again, 5 stars across the board for what you're accomplishing, the focus, the scope, the price. It's on the money in my mind.
Parking.
That's a good one.
And
Surprised I haven't heard that yet.
and we just have brand new parking installed across the street. Once again, thank you, Justin, for your fine work on that job as well too. It's not a lot of parking, but it is there just in time. And I will also point out that our next phase is doing parking along on the other side of the street as well too. So
He's our savior on this.
So you mean we can use that part of the parking from the old Public Works building that's going to be torn down?
So there are some ideas on that. The building's still there right now. I am anxiously awaiting its demise. But part of that comes with, as we know, I've talked to another, we got a building developer, replacement building first. But we're looking at enhancements. And of course, that will be another item of business to discuss on a future agenda item as far as what will go there, access for fire department, possible other expansion, beautification or parking.
The building goes all the way to the end though, right, to the road, right?
Yes.
Between that and that building, the Public Works, so there'll be that parking there.
So
How many
by
parking spaces is that?
taking over this next lease space, we are guaranteed 6 spots just in the private parking lot. What Justin installed on the opposite side of the street is 10 spots, I believe. 9. Dang.
That's good.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. You could squeeze a car almost. And then they don't have, I don't believe, a layout for the side closest to the building. But if we're able to get in, I say if Justin's able to get in head-in parking or diagonal parking, I'm hoping we'll get 10 to 15 spots.
Well, the reason I ask is because if it's going to be a visitor center, there's going to be just people wanting to stop by real quick to pick things up,
Correct.
get information. They're going to need places to park. And I think
Absolutely.
you're going to have an area
We're
that
gonna-
just says visitors only, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's it.
Anybody have
2
any
questions.
comments? Sure.
2 questions. It's really easy ones. So go ahead. Come on. So what is the vision for the visitor center? What does that entail in your mind?
There's going to need to be a lot of work done into how we can display the history of Helotes. There's been discussion. I have a few board members that want to have Helotes merchandise. Personally, I get the idea. I don't want to be a cashier. So if we can work those details out. So I've looked at some of the other visitor centers, and that's going to be something that we'll sit down and do over the next couple months, is visit other locations to get ideas. But it needs to be stuff on wheels that can be moved, because we're looking for the lobby to be kind of a flex space. So if we needed to hold a workshop, maybe on property tax, sales tax, something, we can hold it there in that facility. That's why we're trying to make it as open of a concept as we can.
Next question. You mentioned earlier that you have this fiber line that is, so where do you go when all this construction is going on? Where is your office going to be, and how does that work?
We have two options, and some of it is still TBD, depending on the extent of the renovation, the gutting of the property. If we're able to maintain any type of power or space that is not being drastically impacted by construction, we could stay there. The couple of contractors I've reached out to have looked at doing the construction in phases to get half of it done, move us to the new half, and then tear out where we are. Second option that I already have in the works, if this is to get approved, is getting a temporary office at the Legacy. So there's a building 4 in the back, is 2 stories, and there's nobody leasing up on the second story, and he is willing to do a short-term lease.
Okay.
The legacy.
With the Meadows, a frozen custard next to Jupy Mills. There's,
Oh, the new place.
yeah, the new,
Yeah.
A new place.
There is also an option if worse comes to worse, and we might have one space that could be utilized in the fire department if need be, but that would be
multiple
I
something.
just
Yes.
curious if there was a plan for that.
yes, sir.
Good, thank you. That's all I have. Any other questions?
I just have one, it's more of a comment, and we talked about it, is you're negotiating a lease with them. I know that's the next agenda item, but is there any way the property owner is agreeable to some landscaping, some facelifts, some little, because I mean, this inside looks fantastic, and it's going to be like a shock, because one way out and then
So that's
I don't know.
unfortunately
Yeah.
landlord controls that. We don't have a whole lot of say on that, but we can ask
So
certainly.
I am currently getting estimates on doing parking lot striping, doing seal coating, landscaping, roof repairs, and I'm sending those to the landlord because
Power
technically it
washing.
is in his purview. If we happen to go under budget on this project, I would be coming back and trying to see if we can utilize some of those funds to make those improvements if he's not going to.
like a neat little fence to cover the dumpster when you turn in, those types of, I mean,
Or
I know
move the
I know.
I like the idea of moving the dumpster if is at all possible.
So these are outside the scope of what we
Yes.
have for the item. Those are questions for the landlord, not relevant to whether we approve or disapprove 12. So without any further discussion, of all in favor of approving item number 12 as written, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, brings us to 13, one motion and second to discuss, take action on the 6th and final EDC lineup item for the evening.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend we make a motion, I don't recommend, I make a motion that we discuss and take action on item 13 as written.
Motion by Merchant, second by
I'll second.
Sanders. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so if we just approved item number 12, this is just a formality as far as I'm understanding.
Pretty much.
Okay, so there's my take on that.
Okay. Councilman Sanders?
I guess my question is, because I don't know what a good price is per square foot in Helotes.
If only we had an
EDC
EDC
does.
to be able to research that.
Yeah, the EDC knows. So I was gonna ask Glenn, in your assessment, are we getting how's this rate compared to all the other
So
rental spaces. I think this is probably cheaper than the other newer places, right?
absolutely. There's no other space in Helotes that is at this rental rate, especially when you factor in triple net fees. This is a gross lease. That being said, there's no other space quite like this in Helotes.
Okay.
So
It's unique for multiple reasons. on multiple levels.
I think
Sounds unique. Okay. But because I really don't know how to compare that, you know, so but I kind of do a little bit because I have sat in some of your guys' discussions. So, but I kind of wanted to bring that up publicly that this is a very reasonable rate.
yes, sir.
And you guys have a very good relationship with, as I understand, with the owner of the space, correct?
Yes, sir.
I don't have anything else.
Councilman?
No, I think I talked about, but I should have talked on this one last time, so that's all I have.
Nothing, anybody?
I have nothing.
Okay, all in favor of approving item number 13 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 6 for 6, EDC.
Wait.
I know. One more in between. Though.
All right, at this point, we're gonna go with the staff report, number 14.
What about the quarterly report for the EDC?
There's 14.
It's 15.
That's 15.
Oh, because 14, I didn't get 14 on my
Mhm.
agenda.
There's no
There's
supporting.
no supporting document.
Oh, okay.
It's in
Well,
the-
not on the.
Oh, I see. I see.
Oh, it's a staff report,
Oh, Stafford.
Oh,
staff
okay.
report.
So,
Sound disappointed.
so we had, an application for annexation for a unit in Brycewood. And as of right now, the applicant has actually pulled out from that application. He might come back in the future, but because of time constraints of how long that application is good for, we need to pull it. And we do have written documentation at the time where he was not interested with the terms.
He officially withdrew,
He did.
but it is open to,
He can come back.
He can come back in the future.
and if he does, we will assemble and bring it for your consideration shortly.
Right.
Okay.
So for right now, we have a donut hole in Brycewood.
Yes.
The same donut hole that's there right now.
Okay, true.
But
But we,
just a question, right now, he doesn't want to annex, so it means if he builds, he can build under Bear County with no building permits, but every resident there would, it would be 70 homes. They would have a Helotes address, but when they call for police, they would get Bear County. So 5-minute response all the way around, except for those, for roughly an hour to hour and a half wait for Bear County Sheriff. Same thing for fire. They would get, of course, the fire department is not too far out there. So again, that is their determination. They're free to take a look at it. They may be still under consideration, but officially, because of time limits, they withdrew their application at this point. So
Is this person going to build
it's the same.
one
colors.
residence on 10 acres or is it a subdivision?
It's
a
the Brycewood,
continuation.
continuation of Brycewood. It's just their 6th
Phase.
phase. So they're doing all these already, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Six.
are platted
Makes
in.
no sense that they wouldn't want that one little last piece to be in the.
Well, this was an item of discussion
Executive
when they had
session.
applied. We can't really discuss executive session discussions that we held concerning this topic.
Well, that's good because I don't remember it.
Suffice it to say, on the terms that were offered, he had declined. And at this point, but that does not mean that he
He might not
is
come back.
excluded. He may come back. So
Okay.
it's just that at this time, this is really more of a notification.
Then it-
That process has a deadline and
And
currently
official
withdrawn.
withdrawal.
Okay, that's fine.
No action required, so we'll move to item number 16, and we'll bring
Going back.
Glenn back for the EDC's
Got a break.
fiscal year 23 strategic plan activity report and the quarter ending June 2023.
So first off, my apologies for condensing two of our quarters. As you can see, that we were in the middle of a lot of different things, and we had elections and vacations, and timing just really didn't work for us there for a little while. But I'm glad to be able to come before you again tonight to kind of highlight some of the progress we made both in our strategic plan and some of our goals that we've outlined. So one of the biggest changes was creating a building evaluation committee, and that was for the Helotes Visitor and Business Center that we were able to present to you guys tonight. They'll also be working with me moving forward on a more either day-to-day, week-to-week basis, instead of having to take all of those items to the EDC for individual approvals. Regarding our HEDC grant programs, our tenant improvement grant, you guys approved another one tonight for Twin Brothers Burgers. So far, we've funded 3 this year. We do anticipate having a couple more come in before the end of this fiscal year. Right now, to date, I believe we have spent about, assuming that these turn in their reimbursements, about $85,000 out of the $150 that was approved this fiscal year. On our e-commerce grant, that one's been a little bit slower, either getting adoption or getting enough of the word out there. We have funded one, we have 2 more pending right now, and I believe I have 2 more coming in before the end of this fiscal year. So the newest one that was just approved, actually they just submitted receipts this week, is Helotes Creek Winery. So I'm in the process of reviewing that to issue those funds. And then we have 3 additional 46th Street Pizza, Helotes Tactical, and Slim Chickens who have just requested applications. They're reviewing it and plan on submitting. I actually just received another request Tuesday of this week for Playa Bowls. So it's definitely, the word is starting to get out there and people are figuring out how to utilize those funds. Obviously, the first round of the community arts grant did not go as anticipated. We are still kind of in the process of getting that one finalized out. And then also we're going to be relocating those pieces to the Helotes Disc Golf and Fitness Park, likely going to be around the playground equipment. So since it goes through the conceptual pieces, go through the water cycle from clouds, rain, river, and karst, we're going to incorporate QR codes on each of the pedestals with a video as an educational component. So I think it'll be a great tie-in for that location. And then we launched our second grant program, which got approved tonight for the Arts Grant Committee. And that's probably, I think it'll be our statement piece for years to come. With something the EDC initially planned in our Old Town project, went back to 2008 and 2009 when we had discussions and presentations on different ideas, from windmills to water towers to honestly, something like this was mentioned back then. So it's nice we're finally able to move forward. The Google 360 program is still probably one of the most adopted programs. The contractor we use is a big reason why he will go door to door and visit businesses up to, he said up to 5 times. I told him he needs to cut it back to 3. If they don't show any interest, don't waste your time. But he's been able to already complete 14 business tours. And if you're not familiar with those are, it's part of the Google Maps program. So if you go to a business and you click their profile, there'll be a kind of a circular arrow. You can walk through someone's store. It also provides us still imagery that we use on our Visit Helotes website, and then we can link to those same virtual 360 tours. The visitor center was one of our, was hoped to be one of our big projects, and now it got approved. So I thank you for that. So that's going to keep us busy through the end of the year, getting the construction done and getting all the documentation for leases and everything else. And then marketing initiatives. We did kind of push Visit Helotes a little bit this year through a sponsorship with Carnival Festival and Rodeo. We were featured, had a commercial featured on their Jumbotron. We have our logo and URLs on several park benches. So that's, I'm kind of just fortunate we can support a local event that brings such a positive impact, I think, to Helotes. Wasn't a record-breaking year, I believe, on sales, but still, close to 40,000 people come through the turnstiles. And then one of the items that was on your agenda, I believe at the last meeting, was our Old Town pole sign. We have listened to the comments from planning and zoning, from the businesses, and then from you all. And we are going back to the drawing table, so to speak. I actually have another proposed sign that I'll present to the EDC next Wednesday, and hope to get back to planning and zoning in August, and then back to you guys for approval. And then the YOLO Texas, that was something else we're working on. Again, since we got approval, we'll be moving full steam ahead, selecting those businesses and getting the date scheduled for airing. Sorry, thought it was mine for a second. And so that's all I have. Are there any questions?
I do. I have a question about, we have project activity. I'm talking about bringing businesses to Helotes. You go to these conferences, where they have businesses there and try to bring them in. Have you ever come across Trader Joe's people? Because they have two here.
Correct.
One on 1604 in the Sonterra area, and then one a little further down. To me, the Trader Joe's seems like a perfect fit for this demographic and in this location. Have you all reached out to them?
We have, and I agree with you. I think when you compare our demographics to the ones that are currently in operation, 1604 and Stone Oak Parkway, and then over in the quarry, we meet or exceed within a 5-mile radius, those demographics. They were supposed to be building another store up 281, and they pulled out of. They have no plans on future expansions in this area. But there are other similar concepts, I can say. So on here, you can see I've got denoted, there's a grocery store anchor that we've been in discussion with now. I think we're approaching 6 years. They have made progress on a site. And it's in the same category and segment.
I was just wondering.
Sorry, I had to be a little vague on it.
A lot of our citizens have just told me that they really would like to see a Trader Joe's here. And I mean, it seems like they're always telling me this. And I've never even been into a Trader Joe's.
It's the best.
Yeah. And
it's a
so
quick in and out.
I started looking into it, and actually too, the sizes, they have everywhere from 8,000 to 15,000 square feet. So they don't have these, it's not a gigantic building, which appeals to me. So anyway, I was just wondering, but maybe they'll change their mind. Well,
The one that's coming used to be about 25,000 square feet was their typical store. They've just recently reduced it.
yeah,
They figure they can lose some SKUs and not impact really their sales volume.
yeah. Okay.
I'm just so surprised, not in San Antonio, but you go to Houston, and they're like, every corner. I mean, there's more there. You go to California, they are
That's where they're home.
everywhere. I mean,
Well, we can lead them to water, but we can't force them to drink. But I do appreciate you showing. I know you can't disclose names because there's confidentiality there, but looks like you're hitting a wide variety of industries and a number. Of course, we don't have that many vacant spots right now, so it's tough to market to 100 companies when there's only 4 openings. But
Now I'm looking forward to the PUD breaking ground, because that's definitely going to open up some doors, and there may be some additional developments that are able to secure some property.
I think one of the things that I appreciate about the EDC right now is in our conversations, we identify areas of not just getting businesses to get businesses, but get businesses that fill out, like we continue to talk about a date night quality restaurant. We've talked about small community, Trader Joe type grocery stores, possibly some office space, possibly,
Yeah.
other restaurants, entertainment venues and,
Right.
and whatnot. So appreciate your work in that area.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. With that, we will adjourn. Time is 8:34.